Hello, everybody, and welcome to Podfluxxx. I am Kevin Fulton. This is Ricky Reyes. If
Oh
you knew
man.
what we both knew, you'd be laughing also. This is week 20 of Podfluxxx, 20 weeks in a row. We have hit the internet, and it's yet to hit us back. Ricky, what do you think about that?
Oh, things. Yeah, we're here. Let's do this.
All right. Well, this is a super newsworthy week in pro wrestling, and most of it is centered around AEW because as of our recording right now, we are 1 week away from All In 2023. And Ricky, I need to ask you right here at the top of the show, is Tony Khan a genius?
No. He's not.
I think he is. Would you like to know why?
Okay.
Because he outsmarted 80,000 people. Okay? If he would have advertised this card and then
All
told
right.
us that it
Yeah.
was going to be in Wembley, he wouldn't have been able to fill Wembley's movie theater,
Right.
let alone Wembley Stadium, right?
True.
So this
True.
guy sold all of his tickets,
Yeah.
right? And then told us what we were watching.
Yeah.
And now it's like too late for
Too late.
80,000 people. Can
Yeah.
80,000 people ask for a refund?
I was gonna say the small print on the tickets are no refunds. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's the argument of what's the draw, right? Like, is Wembley Stadium the draw? Because apparently it was.
Yeah.
Having a pro wrestling event in the new Wembley Stadium, I think people just wanted to be a part of that, much like the original All In concept, right? It was to fill a
Crowd
10,000 seat.
funding.
Yeah, and it was like they just wanted to be a part of it and didn't really care, know, or realize what it was gonna be or turn into. So,
Well,
uh, yeah, that I mean, and always in business, in wrestling business, it's always been stated that you know, uh, I guess going to Vince McMahon or WWE, higher ups, if you had a great idea, the reply was going to be, and then what? And that's where we're at with All In, to be honest, in Wembley at least, or in that market is, what are you going to do there to get them to come back or to increase your business there? Because the card that they have and the way they have it lined up and the way it's all going to go down is just doesn't really sound like it's going to be. They're not going to be able to do that number again, is what I'm getting at. Kind of like the Arthur Ashe Stadium. Remember they did?
yeah.
Wasn't the first one
The first
like
one was like a major success.
was a
And not to say,
20,000?
yeah,
Yeah, 20,000 people. Then it's like significantly dropped and it wasn't nearly what it was. Again,
right.
it's one of those, they for AEW, this is quote unquote, all new for all of these fans because they want that. They want um the alternative, and they think that this is it, and then they get there with high hopes and then they're disappointed, and then they stop showing up slowly. I mean, they're just going to start burning themselves out in every art market possible.
Well, do you want to go down the card right now and
Yeah, we can go down it. I don't want to comment on every match, but
all
I
right,
mean,
well, we got
we
the MJF Adam Cole thing, which we've been talking about for weeks.
yeah.
So there's really no reason to talk about that. FTR and the Bucks, which we knew about. Uh, the four-way for the women's title, which before it happened, we knew last week that Britt Baker was going to be the fourth girl in that match,
Okay.
which makes no sense. We've got what's being billed as CM Punk versus Samoa Joe for the Real World's Championship.
I did not know that. Okay.
Well, that's just I'm on the sportingnews.com, so unless they misquoted or didn't transcribe what they were trying to get to properly. But then we have the Darby Allin versus Sting versus AR Fox and Darby Allin and Sting versus AR Fox and Swerve in a coffin match. Remind me to come back to Darby Allin later because he's like gonna have the Iron Man week. I feel like out of everybody on AEW. We got Ospreay versus Jericho, which I don't know why we even need to see. I mean, it's Chris Jericho.
We know why Chris Jericho's in this match. Yes.
Right. But usually it's somebody who's over in his own promotion that he tries to leech the blood. Like this is like, hey, Tony Khan, bring this guy in so I can use his overness to feed myself.
Jericho is the Shane McMahon of AEW. Daddy, can I play with AJ at WrestleMania? Yeah. I want to jump off something high. Can I wrestle The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania? Yeah. This is
quads.
That's exactly what it is, and that'll be Jericho's legacy when he's all done. Is he, put the brakes on more people than Triple H and Hulk Hogan combined in AEW.
Yeah. And then we've got Adam Page, Kenny, and Kota Ibushi versus Juice, Jay White, and Takeshita.
Oh. Is Takeshita part of BC Gold? Or
I don't know if he really is or not, but I'm not sure. And then, this is the one that makes me want to vomit in my mouth. And guess who's in it?
Orange Cassidy.
And who else?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, we got Eddie Kingston, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, and the Lucha Brothers.
Ugh.
Versus Moxley, Claudio, Yuta, and 3 dudes yet to be determined in a Stadium Stampede match.
What is a Stadium Stampede match? Tell me it's no rules, I guess.
It's the same thing as assholes in the arena. Right? But the Stadium Stampede they did during the pandemic era when, they were in Daly's place and then it was just a free-for-all in the Jaguar Stadium.
Yeah, next door, right? Or something like that. Oh.
Yeah. Right? And then Matt Hardy went into the freezer and came out in different clothes. And then they threw him in a swimming pool and he came up as a different Matt Hardy. Adam Page was sitting at the bar. It just ridiculousness.
Well, they can't do that there.
Right. So what it's going to be is it's just going to be assholes in the arena, but in the stadium.
See, I told you they were going to do shit like this. I told you. Like, everybody had to know that they were just going to bring stupidity there, and now they're having a whole match of it. Like, how does the rest of the card even... This is fucking stupid.
It's just so bad. It's so fucking bad. Jon Moxley, like, I would contribute to a GoFundMe if it was raising money for me to never have to see Jon Moxley on television again.
And 3 people not advertised.
Yes.
Like mystery people.
Yes.
So is this supposed to be Moxley's favorite New Japan guys are going to pop up? Or what? Or is it other
I don't know. I'm shocked. I read something today on Twitter, and I had a very, very hard time reading it because it was in Japanese. But luckily, there was a little bit of a translation by the person who posted the article, basically saying that New Japan Pro Wrestling is saying that AEW is killing their bottom line. Have you read this or seen this?
No.
Basically, they're losing money because of AEW.
Okay.
So I don't know why, if that's really the case, if this article was a real thing, why they're even letting their guys do anything there. Which it makes sense, because American people are seeing what AEW is representing as New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they're throwing out 75-year-old dudes out there, and not really, so, but you know what I mean. They're throwing out all the top veterans that have been around for 25, 30 years. And for the people who don't know any better, they're going, well, this New Japan is just a bunch of fucking senior citizens.
Right. Yep. I mean, we've been kind of saying that with the handful of people that they bring in consistently from New Japan. We've been talking about how it's not the guys they should be bringing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they do bring the Sonata situation, look how they treat it.
Right.
Jack Perry. It's not moving New Japan into the direction that they're building, or that they want, like you never saw, like when Inoki would come over, he was still young and could still go. And that's when he was working at the Garden and all these big venues, but they didn't bring in, broken down old guys in. So I don't know. It's just, I understand from a name perspective and they're thinking like bring the top guys over, but when they do bring in a good talent that they can go, they match them up with Jack Perry, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Like we said, it's hurting New Japan more than it's helping either company, really.
Right. And now we're finding out that it's financially hurting New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that kind of, I don't know. I've never known. I'm always curious what that agreement really looks like who's flying them in, who's paying who, and when. Because Eric Bischoff had said something on one of his podcasts how he would sign a guy for let's say $150,000, let's say like an Eddie Guerrero. He would sign him for $150,000 a year, but WCW would pay him the $80,000 half the year, and then New Japan would pick up, the rest of that the second half of the year, Right. So they would split the contracts, So I'm real curious what that really looks like. Is New Japan hey, we'll pick this up, we'll go ahead and ship these guys over. You guys pay them that night, and then we'll bring them back home because we need them the next day, for a pay-per-view or whatever. And it's, they're losing money because all the top stars are nowhere to be found on those events. So I don't know.
But let's call a spade or a money mark here. Right. And I'd like to just assume that Tony Khan is paying all these Japanese guys out of his own pocket. Probably. Flying them over out of his own pocket, setting them up in a hotel that's in a very close proximity to his room, just so he can be like, hey, he stepped across the hall from Tanahashi, and when I waited there until he came out of his room in the morning, and I gave him a big awkward hug, and, but I don't know. I think that they're going, as we've been saying for months, the complete wrong way with this pay-per-view.
Yep.
And they should have. And out of it, though, we've got 2 matches for All Out the following week in Chicago.
Okay. I didn't hear those.
We got from Collision last night. We got a Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs.
Okay.
Which seems like a solid booking.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have Darby Allin versus Luchasaurus for the TNT title. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk a bit more about Darby Allin coming up is because he worked against Christian last night. Okay, and right now we're right on the cusp of that week, 2 weeks that we were talking about when
Yes.
they first announced All In and All Out,
Mhm. Yeah.
where we got the travel, all the TV, whatever. So last night, Darby Allin worked Christian Cage.
Mm.
This Wednesday, it's going to be, I believe, him and that kid Nick Wayne against Swerve Strickland and AR Fox on Dynamite, which
Okay.
is kind of giving away half of your match for your pay-per-view, but whatever.
Correct.
And then whatever they do on Collision for Saturday, I don't know when they're taping that, but then Darby Allin's got the coffin match on Sunday. And then he's turning around and doing whatever he does for TV that week. And then he's got Luchasaurus on Sunday at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So right now it's looking like Darby Allin's going to be the one with the most rigid schedule.
Right. Yeah. For sure. But he's probably hopefully he's loving it, and they're if they book it right, he should come out of a bigger star out of this
A
whole
monster star, yeah.
Yeah, if he's got that many eyeballs on him, and hopefully he's doing everything in a smart way and getting himself over during these moments that he has. So we'll see. But we knew that was coming for at least somebody. So
I see you.
yeah, I don't see you. Now I don't see you at all. So I don't see you. This is Podfluxxx 20.
Hang on.
There you are. Nope.
Oh, this is some bullshit. Just anyway, if you can hear me, we'll just keep going.
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, he should come out of this a monster star.
If it's done right. I mean, that's the problem with this situation is it's feels like 2000 WCW booking, so who knows what'll happen.
I just can't understand for the life of me why I can't get this fucking thing to. There you go. Hi, guys. See, right as I was about to pick this tablet up and flip it across the room, it came back. All right, and then another AEW thing I wanna get.
Well,
to.
is there more pre-show matches advertised besides the uncomfortable ROH tag title match for no reason?
Right now they are advertising.
I'm sure girls match.
Well, they haven't yet. All they've advertised is that the pre-show, which they call 0 hour, is going to start 1 hour before the pay-per-view. But right now, as far as I know or I can tell, the Adam Cole and MJF versus Aussie Open is the only match advertised.
Okay. All right. It's only an hour, so they might maybe one other match, 30-minute hype videos, and then get into it.
Yeah, I hope so, because I hope they don't expect anything more than 5 to 10 minutes out of Adam Cole and MJF on this thing, because then
maybe a 30-woman gauntlet match or something we can squeeze in there.
Dude, yeah,
because we need that.
Maybe a 30-woman over the top of the steel cage Stampede bunkhouse match.
Yeah,
in Wembley,
covered in war games. Yeah.
The winner wins 30,000 quid. And a basket of Cracker Barrel fish and chips.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's funny because we did our episode last week, and basically as soon as we stopped recording on what we called a boring week in wrestling, the internet exploded. And it exploded in a way that is centered around CM Punk.
Yep.
So basically, the internet is trying to make CM Punk the bad guy in the fact that he wants professional wrestling to make some sort of sense. So, how up on this are you?
I saw that. I read that he got into it with, was it Jack Perry, right?
Yep.
Supposedly he didn't want Hangman at Collision, but then he said that he didn't even know, supposedly.
Right.
I did read that. I guess he did admit to throwing out Daniels and Hardy, right?
Right.
Okay. And one other argument with somebody else, right?
Ryan Nemeth.
Oh, yeah. Ziggler's brother.
Right.
Was that it for the week?
That seemed like an appropriate amount for the week.
I thought those were the only arguments that he had. And the Perry thing was, did that motherfucker want to use real glass? Was that what I?
Yeah.
You should have just let him use real glass. I would have thought that would have been a funnier rib than anything. You want to use real glass? Sure,
you know, then he's looking at it like this fucking kid's gonna bleed out on his show.
Okay, well, guess who's not on the show next week? Jack Perry.
Or the week after, or the week after.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Yeah. Till we get all the glass out of his ass. So
the Ryan Nemeth thing, I want to start there.
Okay, so
I find this one hysterical.
Yeah, that's the one that was a head scratcher for me. Because in my mind, I thought, does CM Punk even know who this guy? I don't know, is or wants to be or was gonna be.
The crux of this is that when Punk came back after this whole All Out thing from last year, and he was doing his promo, Ryan Nemeth took to Twitter and called CM Punk, quote, literally the softest man alive. Right?
Okay. All right.
And then I'm assuming that the first time CM Punk saw Ryan Nemeth and was like, hey, who's that guy? And somebody was like, oh, that's Ryan Nemeth. And after Punk was probably like, hey, what's a Ryan Nemeth?
Yeah.
They were like, that's the guy that tweeted you're the softest dude on the planet.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. Punk went over and, immediately gave Ryan Nemeth the opportunity to prove that he was the softest man on the planet.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure he declined the offer.
I don't know. I can't say anything about Ryan Nemeth because I don't know anything except that he's Ziggler's lesser talented brother.
Yes. At least,
and I think he was like, as far as I know, I think he was Joey Ryan's roommate. So there's that as well. Because they all lived together with somebody else in LA. I remember that because when we were in Lucha Underground, he said something about his roommate, and I said, "Oh," and he goes, he told me, "Oh yeah, Ziggler's brother, Ryan Nemeth," and I was like, "Okay," and that was
the appropriate response.
Yeah, that was pretty much probably what Punk said. Like, okay, I don't get what these, again, it goes back to how this newer generation is with taking criticism,
after they dish it out also.
Yeah. I mean, after this guy went after him, and I'm, again, Punk knowing nothing about this guy, I'm more than positive. And, it's like, who? And then when you can be all tough on, on a keyboard, and then when you come face to face, it's like, oh, look, I'm being attacked, Yeah. It's just
Somebody
the way,
help me.
Yeah, it's just the way the world is now, right? Like everyone with a keyboard is like a little brother, It's like poke, poke, poke at big brother, and then you smack the shit out of him, Mom,
right.
Like it's like, oh, so it's just, I don't know.
It just seems to me that there's like a concerted effort by obviously the wrestling journalists and media. We know what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
but it
Oh yeah, I
seems
get it.
like there are certain people within the AEW locker room that are trying really, really, really hard
Yes.
to get the entire fan base to
Yes.
start a movement against CM Punk.
Correct.
But every
Yep.
time they do, we then find out the truth, and then
Yeah.
it turns out that like Punk's not really wrong.
Well, what he so well, and then in this situation, it's him confronting a guy who was talking shit, and then now they're face to face. That's one thing. But with the Jack Perry thing, uh, he was yelling at him not to do that for whose safety? For Jack Perry's safety.
Right.
Safety. It wasn't. He's like, don't use that glass because I'm CM Punk and I said so.
Right.
Like it wasn't anything except like we don't do that. Like if glass needed to happen, which it did not, it doesn't need to happen that way. That's for sure. Stuntmen in Hollywood that get paid millions of dollars don't do real glass. There's a reason why there's sugar glass. Like
Right.
and then with anything else with CM Punk is a lot of it is delivery and his persona and his just the way he is in general. And I was, that's something that drew me to him when the first time I met him, because I thought, oh, here's a guy that doesn't bullshit. He's probably a straight up guy. And I have a lot of that in me. And like a low key is that way, where people are like almost intimidated to talk to those types of people. Then you get to know him. You're like, man, he's cool. He's chill. Like, he just doesn't like the stupid shit, or you don't like what you don't like, and then that's it. It's over. Like, we're not gonna sit there and dwell on it.
Right.
I don't like comedy wrestling, although I know that there's a place for it. I like good comedy wrestling if done right at the right time. There's a big difference. But what Punk is trying to protect Jack Perry from is himself. I'm looking at it like when I was young and stupid, if I made that decision to use real glass, it's because I wanted to prove to the locker room, I'm a tough guy and I belong here. Maybe that's what he was thinking. I don't know. In that case, I could say, okay, maybe Punk's delivery was that he was upset because he thought he was going to get hurt or something, but knowing Punk, like, it's just his delivery on it.
Yeah.
I bet if he circled around and came back 5 minutes later, he had a different tone. Like, hey, you understand why I don't want you to do that? He's not going to tell you that in the heat of the moment. He's going to be like, you're a fucking idiot. Don't do that stupid shit.
This is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot if you want to do it. So don't.
And then 10 minutes later, he's going to explain why it's stupid and why we don't do that. And we don't. Nobody does that. The old school guys, the toughest of the tough guys, wouldn't do that, because it's stupid. So they don't want to take that time to let it digest and then break down into a lesson of this is why, or ask later, like, hey man, you yelled at me in front of everyone and called me a little bitch and I'm a dumbass. You want to explain why now? They don't want to do that. They just want to pout, run away, cry, tell somebody, get on a plane and go home.
Right.
That's it. That's what they want to do. And then tweet about it later. So
yes, that's the big thing.
Yeah. So everything has to be public now. Not everything behind in the locker room needs to go public. It doesn't, and AEW is proving that. How much backstage drama is there in WWE that we know about? None. Right. You know why? Because the drama's in the ring where it's going to make you some money. Right. The bloodline are not bickering at each other. Solo's not tweeting, hey man, when am I going to get my run at the top yet, bro? I haven't gotten anything. None of that is happening because they know better. AEW is the exact opposite, where there's more interest and more drama and story behind the scenes than there is in the ring. And it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever like been a part of as far as wrestling goes, where I'm more interested at what are these guys saying to each other behind each other's backs on social media than what they're doing in the ring. It doesn't. And then on the other side of it, you're looking at a $1 billion company, WWE, selling record-setting events, multiple ones, not just one that we're hanging our hat on AEW, because they're just sitting there like, yeah, we did in London in one fucking building.
4 international pay-per-views this year.
Yeah, in one event, that we're all, ha ha ha. But look at what just happened for SummerSlam, and look at what just happened on the first day of WrestleMania sales.
I didn't even see that yet. What was it?
Over 90,000 in 12 hours, and $21 million at the gate on the first 12 hours. Breaking all records.
Think about that.
Breaking all records. Yeah, breaking all records. But Meltzer's not bragging about that.
No.
Okay, so again, getting back to the whole like Punk thing, what it is it's his delivery. He's just not going to sugarcoat the shit. He's going to talk to you like man to man. Like, if it's stupid, yo, this is fucking stupid, or don't be stupid, or be less stupid, and then everyone's going to, and these new guys are just going to take it as, oh, I'm being attacked and so hurtful, I need a mental health day, and then cry about it for the next week to 10 days until they get back to TV, and then play victim the rest of the time.
Now here's my question. Now they're going to run and they're going to play victim to who?
Yeah.
Probably the head of talent relations, Christopher Daniels,
yes.
who himself is not allowed backstage at Collision at the behest of CM Punk.
Well, I don't know if there's still that heat there between Punk. I mean, obviously there is, which I was real curious when Punk got hired by AEW, because I think I know it was 2005, the Homecoming show, Punk and Daniels wrestled for an hour. They did not like each other then.
Really?
Yes.
Can you dive into that at all or expand?
So I had heard, or some birdie told me
I like
that
words.
That Christopher Daniels and a girl that Punk was involved with, I guess, were being friendly.
Okay.
And that led to Punk not talking to anybody at TNA at the time. Frankie Kazarian, was it AJ and Chris? So then they didn't talk for a really long time. Somehow the match had to happen. They had a match for an hour because neither one was going to do the job for the other. So it was Homecoming 2005. That was the night Joe gave me a concussion. I went to the hospital, but I remember reading later that they ended up doing an hour that night because I knew they had a hard time trying to figure a finish. I also remember earlier that year we were at PWG, and whatever happened at Impact at TNA.
Yeah.
And the Machine Guns came in the locker room, and me and Punk were sitting there. Me, Punk, TJ, somebody else. But we were like stretching and like just bullshitting. And the Machine Guns and Petey Williams walked in together. And I'll never forget, Chris Sabin walked up to Punk to give him a handshake, and Punk just looked up at him, and then he just looked away. And then I was like, so I went ahead and grabbed the handshake. I was like, yo, what's up, guys? Like, awkward. Like, let me jump in here. Let me move you guys away from this area
Yeah.
before
Let me
he
show
hits
you
you.
around the venue.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I quickly got up and tried to play nice, and like it just got weird real fast. And Punk didn't really care, and it was funny because I came back and we didn't talk about it or nothing, but Punk just kind of looked at me, and then I just looked at him, and we just had that like, you know, thanks, or you
Yeah.
know, there was that mutual like, you know,
Good call.
yeah. So I didn't know what was going on. I later found out that that was at least at that time. I'm assuming that he still doesn't talk to any of them as well, because it's kind of funny how Frankie left AEW to go to Impact
Mhm.
a while back when
Yeah.
Punk popped up in AEW.
Oh, you
So
know what? I didn't correlate the two. I had no reason to even try to correlate the two. But I did read an interview where Kazarian said something along the lines of like, basically he's like, oh, I could take that guy's money all day, but they basically aren't doing anything there that I like to do.
there was also a question to AJ recently about CM Punk, and he said CM Punk and I will never ever get in the ring together or work together.
How does one guy make so many people this angry?
Uh, I can tell you that because he's honest, and if you're his friend, then you're his friend for life. But if you stab him in the back, then you're an enemy for life.
Right.
And that's
And
like the whole.
he doesn't clearly doesn't play the wrestling fake friends bullshit.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. Uh, that's another reason why him and I like always really gotten along together, because like you guys know me, um, like the times we were in locker rooms and I'm like, ugh, I don't like that guy. Like
Yeah.
I make it abundantly clear, don't talk to me for your own well-being,
He's
and
not my boy. Rick is
yeah,
sitting right there. I don't fucking care.
yeah. There's been a few of those, yes, yes.
Oh,
So that's the thing, and it when he does say stuff like that, like with Ace Steel, like he's a friend and he'll always be, and he's gonna bring his friends along, like he's being honest about it. It's just he's always been that way, and that's why he's always had that kind of like sketchy, like people have always like, oh, I don't know if I like him, or I don't, there's something about him I don't like, and what they don't like is the honesty,
right.
and I don't know. I always took like Tully Blanchard did an interview. I think it was for like High Spots, and it was like years ago. And the person did like a shoot interview, and they asked him about backstage politics, and he like laughed off the question, like, "Did you ever play? Who did you, when and where? How did you play backstage politics?" And Tully said, "I never worried about politics." He goes, "I was just going to be so good that you were going to need me, whether you liked me or you didn't like me. I was just going to be good for your business." And I always took that type of mentality of like, I know people don't like me here, so I'm just going to outwork everybody, have the best match, be the best wrestler, and they're going to be at the end of the day like, well, we're going to need them. So I always had that mentality. Not that I didn't have friends in other places or like buddies or whatever. Like, it's a big difference between like what we had in VPW, like our core group of friends, where we were actually friends, and then the people that would filter in and out,
Yeah.
that we would consider, that we would see at other shows, or would periodically come in and out, and we were like quote unquote friends with.
Comrades.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You have a ton of those, but real friends that you would trust, like we
Only a
trusted each other.
handful.
Yeah, yeah. Like in 24 years, I have less than 10, and half of them are you retards.
Right.
And that's why I always say like how what we did was on so many different levels, huge success in my book. in my life, really, but you can't you can't remake that whenever you want. We kind of caught lightning in a bottle, like the perfect timing with the perfect everything aligned for us. Like, hey, you
Right.
know what? When we all kind of realized we could kind of make this a thing and
Yeah.
run with it, and we did. And of all the places I've been and all the things that I've done, that doesn't happen very often. Like, I had little phases where even my first run in Ring of Honor with, like, Joe and Brian and Punk and Low Key and Homicide, that was maybe a 2-year run of something like that, where we kind of, for that quick moment, for those 2 years, we were like, man, like, this is it.
We
But
got something.
yeah. And then I didn't have that until, I went to maybe in Puerto Rico for like my first 6 months. And then the last 6 months was like, I needed to start exiting. But then we did it in New York, in VPW. And then I would say the first 3 seasons of like Lucha Underground, like these were all things that were just like, all of a sudden you're doing it and you had to take a moment and be like, holy shit, this
Yeah,
is a thing.
this is the thing.
Yeah.
This is working.
Yeah,
I
this is working.
remember when you first came in, and it's exactly what you were saying about guys like Low Key and Joe and Punk. Like, you came in, you looked mad, you sat by yourself, it was almost like an intimidating presence. And then, we get to YouTube and your stuff, or I got to YouTube and your stuff once we were like, oh, this guy's going to be our trainer. And I was like, fuck.
Huh?
Like, this guy's going to make us work really, really hard, and we're not going to have any fun. Only one of those things was true. You made us work really, really hard, but it was fun. It turns out that, like, once you got past your veil of what I used to call the Ricky Reyes gym face, where it's just, you just walk around with a scowl on your face all day and nobody's going to talk to you. And then it turns out that's just a way to get people to not fucking bother you. Once you got past that, and everybody became friends and shit, it was like, oh, he's not that intimidating or frightening or you're a regular person. But you weren't with the bullshit. You weren't for the bullshit that was the ancillary, but like our bullshit, you were down with because it was stupid. And we had fun and we were friends, but like
Right.
the rest of the bullshit, you had no time for grop. You had no time for razzle dazzle. You had, you know what I mean? Like,
So like that would be exactly what these guys are dealing with Punk.
right.
Is they don't want to make the effort to get past that with him. Those guys don't want to make the effort as far as with bettering, with learning and trying to make themselves a better pro wrestler, to take the time like you guys did, where you were like, all right, let's sit under this learning tree and figure this shit out. And then it turned into realizing, like, once you guys got to a certain point, now you were like on the same level, and then we were collectively not just figuring it out, but creating our own way.
Right.
And that's what, when people even today, like, that know VPW, talk to me about it, and they were fans or find it, they all say the same thing. Like, it looked like you guys were having the time of your life out there. And we were, because, it's like we were successful. Like, the buildings were full, the crowd was loud, our music would hit, the fans knew who that person was, whether they were heel or face, and they wanted to see it. We were creating something. If these guys in AEW care about AEW or care about pro wrestling, they would absorb as much as they can from Punk and anybody back there that has that type of knowledge. Dean Malenko, Billy Gunn, anybody that's been around the block, especially the guys, Christian Cage. Like, how do you not listen, you know what I'm saying, like to those types of guys and try to
I
make
would be
yourself
so
better,
far up Christian Cage's ass
bro?
that he'd hate me.
Yeah, for sure. And that's how I was when I got to Lucha Underground with like Chavo and, you know, and Paul London and, you know, like the MVP when he was there. Like these were guys I was just constantly around. Why would I want to hang out with the guys I'm going to see the next few weeks on indie shows when I can hang out with Chavo Guerrero and ask him a question a day and just, and then when Ray got there, Alberto Del Rio was there, you know, John Morrison, even just bullshit with Ricochet about, you know, stuff he did in Japan and what worked, what didn't, you know, like just different experiences from a very high level, you know. And then I would talk to Stryker about like how you know, what do you think you should do to highlight things on TV and get better as far as a quote unquote television wrestler. Like how can I make this better? Vampiro character stuff like Conan, like their feud, like, you know, like I don't know if they really, I'm sure they don't like each other, but they do stay opposite ends of the locker rooms. They're never in the back talking to each other. So I'm sure there's legit heat there, but together they've drawn huge money. So at some point they needed to get together and say, hey, let's go out there and at least make some money tonight, you know? And there's that professional respect, at least, you know? So, I mean, these guys, they just think because they're there that they're big deals now.
That's enough.
And they haven't done anything to move the needle yet. The company, Tony Khan's money is moving the needle. None of these guys are. Like, let's face it, none of them are. You know, and again, I'll, you know, go back to it and continue to, but like an MJF needs to learn to speak up for himself and ask himself, like, is this good for me? Or is this good for MJF, you know, as a character, you know, because I feel like sometimes he goes up and down and it's hard to get that consistency. But then again, when he goes to WWE, and I'm sure he will at some point, he's going to realize, oh, this is what they mean to, you know, to main event and to be the guy, act like the guy, and earn that type of respect, you know. So the problem with the guys with CM Punk is they don't like how straightforward he is.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
And that's getting them heat. And the last thing I want to talk about is clearly heat in the locker room is alive and well, right? Yeah. But is heat, real heat from wrestling fans, is heat dead in pro wrestling? Now, the reason I bring this up is Monday Night Raw went off the air this week with the Judgment Day all over Sami Zayn and all over Seth Rollins, and they're putting them through tables, and it's a fucking beatdown. In 1996, there would have been garbage in the ring. You know what I mean? People looking up the entranceway, waiting to see, looking up in the rafters, waiting for Sting to come down. Like it was a heat finish to the TV show. But the people in the crowd, like don't get me wrong, it was getting the appropriate reaction. It was boo, you know.
Right.
But there was also like the people, the heel fans that want to be with the heels on everything. But, you know, you see the laughing and the smiling in the crowd. Nobody looked like they were ready to stab a motherfucker. When did heat die? And is it too late to really get heat in pro wrestling today, and why?
I don't think it's dead. What I think is, from the sounds of that, is the Judgment Day isn't doing that attack on the baby faces that are over more than them. Like you're saying that the Judgment Day was almost like tweener reactions.
Yeah.
Where they were kind of with it and thought it was, because the thing about the Judgment Day is collectively, it's cool.
Right.
So it's over.
Right.
They're getting
basically a baby face.
They like to boo Dominic. There's a difference between the Dominic heat and like a Tully Blanchard heat.
Yes.
So it's like, haha, he's a kid and we're fucking with him.
Right.
And Tully Blanchard is like, back up, that motherfucker might have a knife. Like, you know, so there's a big difference in that. And with that, he's over in a good way. Then you have him next to Rhea. Everybody loves Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Priest.
They are ready for him to take that step and be that guy. So they're pulling for him. And then Finn, he's just too good of a pro wrestler, and we all know that, to really hate him. And he's good at being the little shit heel that he is now, so you like it. So collectively as a group, they are not going to get booed unless they are whooping on LA Knight's ass 4-on-1. You see the difference?
Yeah.
Now exactly, like now they're going to get heat because LA Knight is more over as a babyface than Judgment Day is as a group, as far as, you know, so that makes more sense. Again, like Sammy's like overness, I guess I'll say.
I feel like it's past.
It's past. So what they were hoping is, oh, if you beat up Sammy, you'll get heat. And that moment is gone since February, you know, when he lost to Roman. It was like, he didn't do it. He let us down. We're not pulling for him. We like LA Knight. LA Knight hasn't let anybody down yet. Priest, again, he's almost at like a LA Knight type where we're pulling for him. We want him to go. We want him to like pull the trigger. Let's do this. So because I think the Bloodline, you know, right before the Rumble had that type of heat as a group. Yeah. But they were all collectively heels. They were all working together to where Judgment Day has a mixture of like, okay, mommy's bad, but mommy's our mommy. Like, we like it. And then with Dominic, it's like, yeah, we like booing him. This is fun. It's just a different, you know, shit. Here comes Roman. We all know where this is fucking going. It's fucking asshole. There's a big difference in the heel mode, or whatever you want to call it, feeling of the arena. So I don't think it's gone. I think they just needed better baby faces to do it against. Like, I wouldn't have wasted it on guys that are like you said, like the spark is dying on their baby face reactions, right? Like, what has Sammy done for us lately as faces? Nothing. So you beat up nothing. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now Judgment Day jumps LA Knight for no fucking reason and then walks to the ring right after. They're getting shit thrown at them. You know, you don't even give Dominic the mic. You barely have Rhea in the picture, and you just let Finn go off on the camera, and we're coming to take over all of WWE, whether you people like it or not, and then they leave. That's how they're going to get that type of heat. But it's just like again, when you had like Stone Cold, right? Who was the only heel that could be more hated, you know, that you wanted, was Vince McMahon. Now anybody that Vince anointed in his group, come on, you know, go get him, you know, corporate Kane. Well, now we're just waiting for Austin to whoop his ass and get closer to Austin, to McMahon. So it's the level of who's strong enough to outshine that group, you know, in that sense of like being a babyface. Yeah, it's just bad pairing, I think, is what it comes down to right now.
I also think that, and I mean this cat's been out of the bag for a very very long time. But like since everybody's in on it now, you'll never get that visceral reaction from fans again where they were willing to, except for the two special people who tried to hop the rail on you and Eric that night. um you're not gonna get people trying to cut down heels in the entranceway. You know what I mean? Like real violent rage, anger, animosity, hatred towards a heel. Since everybody's in on it, that's dead.
I don't necessarily totally agree with it. I don't think, and the reason why is because of what I said. With the right pairing and the right McMahon, Austin, oil and water
Right.
reactions, it can work. The problem is it's just not a super long term type of thing. I look at Sammy and Roman when Roman was pie facing him, and screaming at him and yelling and get, nose to nose. I was getting chills, you know. And granted, I know that we're all those idiots are in the back, like, hey man, and then I'll do this. And Sammy
Yeah.
like, please, please, just don't
Yeah.
hit me hard. I don't, ha
Right.
ha ha.
And somebody had their finger up somebody's gooch while it was happening, and
Yeah.
they were having a good laugh. But
Yeah. And then they went out and did it, and the reaction was it was a moment that they created. And so I think that they could have that still. I really do. The problem is the type of pairings. I feel like, and you have to be careful with it, but the day Roman's in the ring talking shit and LA Knight's music hits and they just stand nose to nose, we can go off camera right there and be like, oh shit.
right.
And then we can guarantee 4 million people to watch the next week to hear what's going to happen or
The whole way through.
to see. Yeah. But how long is that really sustainable? Like how long, and then what? Right?
That's the big thing.
The money question. If you don't put it on LA Knight, do the fans move on from him, and do we ruin him? If you do put on LA Knight, is he the right guy to take it off Roman? Becomes that argument.
Well, it's funny that we're doing all this talk about LA Knight, and just a few short months ago, I was like, he's like the perfect ball of Steve Austin in The Rock. And you were like, and here we are, most over guy in the company. I pontificated yet again.
Well, for now he is, and I'm for it. I don't even now when he comes out, like there's a huge reaction, and I'm like, I don't really get it, but they're in it. They're into it. It's not what I like, it's what the fans like, when you're writing it.
I'll tell you right now why the fans like it. And they can't tell you why they like it, but I will tell you why they like it. And it's because they're looking at somebody who looks like The Rock and talks like Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Okay. It's Rocky Maivia in a rattlesnake vest.
Right.
And this generation doesn't know. They don't know.
Yeah. Correct.
What it was like all the time.
Right. Yeah. What we know.
To them,
they don't know what we know. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're getting this for the first time. Us, it's retread, but we're getting hit in the nostalgia, like, oh, this feels like what it felt like then.
Right.
And then to them, they're just like, this guy does whatever the fuck he wants. He looks great. He says this. He's spitting in people's face. It's there's a mud hole stomping, and they're seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, totally. And that's what I mean by, to me, I don't see it because I saw it already, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm also business first. So when I'm looking more at the crowd, and I'm like, it's working. Whatever it is, keep doing that. You know, they like it, keep doing it. Now, when and where we pull that trigger and how we come off of that win or loss is the big. That's where a Vince McMahon needs to step in and figure it out, because I feel like we can all get there. All of us can get there and book our own angles on becoming the greatest world champion of all time. And then,
but they're sustaining it.
Then day 2 of being the greatest world champion of all time becomes more of a, how do I do this again? You know? So that's where I think like the brilliance of like a Vince McMahon, like how do you keep a star, such a big star, you know,
instead
like,
of going,
what's the path we take once we get on this road, like where does it go? Because we could see, like, you know, the path, we can see it itself, and then we get to the top, right? And then it's like, how do you stay there is like a whole nother.
Well, you go with the Bob Holly method. Give me the belt, and then I beat everybody.
And I beat everybody for the belt. But that's the thing, is like the whole it doesn't work for me, brother. That's how you stay a star, right? I mean, it's to the point now where you're just kind of roll your eyes. Well, that's Hogan. What are we gonna do? Whatever Hogan wants. Whatever Hogan wants. Why? Because he's Hulk Hogan, bitch. Like, this discussion is over, you know.
Because it worked for 20 years. That's why.
Same thing with Austin. Oh, I'm losing to Brock. Well, I'm going home. Why? Why are we bringing him back? Because he's Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know. And that's, again, I'm gonna go back. MJF has to look at it from that perspective, like, hey, this don't work for me, brother. Why do I need to wrestle on the pre-show? I'm your fucking main event.
It's funny because in his promo, he was like, "What, you want me to wrestle twice in one night?" He was like, I don't even like to wrestle twice a year. You want me to do it twice in one night? Like, that's
what I need in the back, telling Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's you gonna put a little extra in that envelope there tonight, buddy. You know, you know. So I don't know. I mean, as far as like Heat being dead, I don't think it is, because, like you said, these newer fans, they're seeing it for the first time, so it is new to them, and we can get that heat. It just has to be done. My whole thing is, you need a booker in front of the writers. And what I mean is, like, you need like a Dutch Mantel telling the writers who they are writing for.
Right.
Because you need Dutch to say, I like this. This is clearly working. Let's put those together. Now you nerds write the next 3 months. And then we can have something. I think when they have these writers kind of creating and writing all at once, when were the last time they booked a territory that pulled in 40,000 people? They didn't. Right. They came from fucking Netflix. Like, they don't even work. They don't work in front of live audiences. And now they are. That's another big factor that these people, that insiders aren't really understanding about the creative team, right? Is like, even guys on, so the thing about like Lucha Underground that was perfect was DJ, Chris Joseph, the writer for Lucha Underground, who came from WWE. He was there for like 7 years. He was a Bruce Pritchard guy, but he was working on Big Brother, that TV show. So he's a head writer for them. But Lucha Underground was a TV series. That's why he fit in perfectly.
Right.
When it came down to a match, a couple of times in the first season, I went to him and I said, hey man, what do you want for this match exactly? Like, what do you need? And he looked at me, he goes, I don't fucking wrestle. That's your job.
Yep.
That's your job. And I said, all right. Went, figured it out. I asked him again a little bit later, just to make sure. That's not my job, dude. That's you. Figure it out. okay. And that was where I was like, okay, this guy's like pro wrestling writer, but like just wants the writer part,
Right.
like doesn't want the pro wrestling part, you know?
Idea guy.
Yes. And that's good because, but I always thought like if like
If he
AEW,
needed something certain, a certain specific detail,
yeah, we
there
got
should have been somebody there to relay, hey, but we need, this guy's ear to get bitten off
yeah,
so he can't hear in the next episode when whatever the fuck.
yeah. But
Yeah.
the thing is like in an AEW or even WWE, if they had a booker in front of the writers, I feel like we could get that real heat angles booked
Right.
because a Dutch Mantel, a Jeff Jarrett, somebody like that of that mentality could really understand an Arn Anderson, um, you know, somebody that understands it in that way from that time can explain to the writers what they're supposed to be writing about. And I think that's what they're just missing, that layer, in my opinion.
Right.
And to go back to getting real heat, that's how you get it.
Right.
Like I see what LA Knight's doing, and I see where Judgment Day is on the break of being. What do we need to get us over that hump? Let those two work together.
Right.
In the smart fans' eyes, LA Knight goes toe to toe with Finn, who's probably considered like the best pure wrestler, right? So in that sense, LA Knight gets over with that crowd now. Oh, he had a 5-star match with Finn. Now we love LA Knight even more. You know, LA Knight's super over. Now that makes Finn, while he's whooping his ass, super over as a heel. And he's clearly doing it because I see like clips of him like sitting a chair up and putting his feet up on Seth Rollins and like flexing.
Yeah.
So he's doing his old school, I'm getting heat, brother, but it's working and it's great, but it needs to be done to get that type of heat, I believe. That it will exist if it's done right. It's just not. I don't think it's just being done with, and that you're bringing out one scenario where you're like, hey, is this gone? And I don't think it is. I just think in that one scenario, it wasn't there. It was a swing and a miss.
Right. All right. Well, what wasn't a swing and a miss? Podfluxxx episode number 20. I think we had a great show here tonight, Rick. I am so excited to watch All In and then record the next day. Are you going to watch All In?
Probably not.
Man, this is, as Gorilla Monsoon would say, this is going to be a happening.
I might. I was thinking about it today. I was like, do I want to watch this shit? Because am I just going to be upset afterwards?
Well, the good thing about you is you're a time zone behind here. So
Yeah.
You'll have the opportunity to get up late in the day on Sunday morning and already see if everybody 3 hours ahead of you is annoyed and then make your decision from there.
And then figure out my day from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see if they can take this card, which you can think about in years for numerous WrestleManias past, where you looked at the card and you went, ugh, and then the show happened and it was fantastic. So
my hope is nobody gets hurt and that they do something on the show that will advance. Yes, exactly. That will advance everything and everybody involved. Like that's, you give me one. Give me one thing, AEW in London, that's going to make, hopefully a year later, people say, I want to go back and see that shit again, or move somebody along or something. Like something has to happen.
I'd like to ask them to give me two things. And one of them is, exactly what you just said. And then the other thing is my money back. But anyway, we're probably not going to get either one of those. So,
No.
Rick, we'll see what happens,
All
and
right.
we'll report it. And Mother Fluxers, we'll catch you next week. I am going to run the gimmick.